to rise again. In some quarters, we are getting that feel as yes, that's following the decision by the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited to end its exclusive offtake agreement with Dangote Refinery, allowing other marketers to buy the products directly from the facility. Well, the current fuel cost was effected in August when the NNPCL adjusted the pump price from 568 naira to 855 naira per litre in Lagos and to almost 900 naira in other parts of the country. Well, if this is true, that the NNPCL has exited as a middleman in the Dangote Refinery, this implies that the National Oil Company will no longer cover the price gaps and the selling price to retailers, previously absorbing a subsidy of about 130 naira to 140 naira. Well, these and other issues top discussions around the country in recent times. Dr. Biodun Adedipe is my guest. He's the founder and chief consultant, B. Adedipe Associates Limited, with about 4 decades of postgraduate work and professional experience that cuts across university teaching, investment banking, project finance, management and financial consulting, as well as leadership in business and not-for-profit organizations. Dr. Adedipe, good afternoon. It's good to see you.
Same here, Tolu. A very good afternoon to you. I'm happy to be with you today.
I have to start this way. I am worried. We heard the news. We are yet to get an official statement from the NNPC and another official statement also from Dangote Group. What if it happens that NNPC stops being the middleman? What is this bringing to the fore? How does it come to you? What's your understanding of this? To me, I'm thinking we might begin to buy this product maybe higher than what it is at the moment.
Well, Tolu, I will say that that's the first interpretation that anyone will probably give to that development, but I see it differently, and this is my perspective about the issue. Number one is the fact that if NNPC pulls out as the sole off-taker of refined products from Dangote Refinery, it means we are truly going into deregulation as it is supposed to work. What we have been practicing is what I describe as dirty deregulation. I came up with that coinage some 31 years or so ago when we began conversing about this. And I remember then, what I said was that if NNPC remained the sole importer of refined petroleum products, then what we are practicing is not deregulation, but a dirty one. Because if you really deregulate, then the players in the market should freely be able to access the product they want to sell, do the pricing, and then sell to their customers, which means the market will truly determine the price at which we sell and buy. What in economics we call, we arrive at an equilibrium price that clears the market. All right? That is what regulation is supposed to do. Which means also that what we see now is a modulation in the pump price of refined petroleum products, which means that there will be occasions the price will go up. There will also be occasions that the price will come down. So that is the way a true market that is efficient to operate. To play those two against each other, then it means with a matter of time, the market will normalize in the sense that we have people buy where the product is cheapest. And they said we carry through to the consumer. So now what all of this would mean then is that NNPC pulling out means every retailer will get supply of refined product directly from Dangote Refinery. And then we now see true competition. But pricing and attraction of customers will depend on how competitive you are. And that is what I expect. Also, it will mean if, as we have commenced now in the last 2 days, to sell crude, which is feedstock, or the domestic refineries, of course, the leader and big player there is Dangote Refinery. If we sell feedstock, the crude to them in naira, that means that if that pricing is also determined by what it is going for internationally, it means if the price of crude oil goes down internationally, we might then begin to see the pump price invariably also come down. So we see modulation, so to say, which case it will not be unidirectional as we have experienced all these years. that NNPC has been the major player in importing and also supply to the local market. So that's my first interpretation. Then we now go to the other issue, and that is whether indeed we still be consuming the same volume that NNPC told all of us it was importing for domestic consumption. That would be another one. Now, the other one is this, and that is what I've not heard any analyst talk about, and that is the fuel that we consume in Nigeria. What percentage of that do we burn on the roads? That's one. What percentage of that do we burn in generating power? So which means now, with improvement in parts of life of national grid, then the demand for diesel and other refined products to power generators as alternative is also going to reduce. So all of this will play against each other. Now, if I pay more for fuel, that means I will also naturally become conscious of whether I should be on the road all the time. So which meetings can I do virtually instead of going to do them in person? So all of these rationalities will come into decision making, and so we may actually see a situation where the direction of demand will also impact the way price will go. So let me leave it there for now.
But I'm looking at the implication. I agree with you, market forces, the price of crude, you see what is happening in Israel, Hamas and all of that, and people believe that this might also impact the price of crude. And if the price of crude goes higher, instead of us to get the benefits of that, it will impact the landing cost of petrol or the price of petrol. Dr. Adipe, how does that also come to you?
Yes. Okay, now certainly it will affect the pumped price because you are pricing the crude using international benchmark. And if you do that, any disruption globally, especially in the Middle East, that accounts for about a third of the crude that is supplied to the global market. It then means that it will also impact the ultimate pumped price of refined petroleum products here in Nigeria. So the implication of that then is that as we pay more for refined products, that will not only affect the cost of transportation primarily, but let me say logistics generally, the cost of logistics, moving people and goods. All right. Now, to that extent also, it will feature in inflation. When you look at the percentage of energy cost, or let me call it energy bill, in our basket of commodities that is used to determine the consumer price index that eventually we derive inflation rate from. So which means ultimately, this will also affect the cost of doing business on the one hand, and then also the cost of living on the other hand. Which means for all of us, whether businesses or private individuals, we are going to experience a spike in the cost of either running the business or living. So that means inflation rate is expected to tick up. So the challenge then to us is what opportunities do we have for ensuring that the impact of this on cost, whichever way you look at it, is moderated. So it means we have to look back again and ask ourselves some questions. It's good we have moved away from selling crude in dollar to domestic refineries. We are now selling naira. But how about the pricing? So the pricing consider the embedded cost of logistics of moving the crude from a local source here to a local refinery as compared to sourcing the crude from a foreign country. Now, have we considered that? How does that play out in the eventual cost of refining, ultimately with margins and other things added before you arrive at the pumped price? We may begin to look at all those again. Maybe we have to go back and look at that policy again. Should the local refineries be buying feedstock at benchmark international price? And of course, the other side to it, which we have not even talked about, is what you saw in the news. If from 1st of October, 400,000 barrels of crude oil will be consigned to Dangote Refinery for the next 2 months. So now what that means is that 400 out of about 450,000 barrels per day that is allocated for domestic refinery is actually getting to the local refineries, which is good for Nigeria. And of course, you know the implications for our competitors. Because if that happens, there are two things immediately. One is the implication for the African region to start with. Second one is the implication of that for refineries in Europe and all those that had West Africa as their basic market. So when all of this will play out and give Nigeria some sort of advantage, then we must interrogate why should we sell crude to local refineries at international price? That's a big question to ask, especially when you look at some other OPEC members. Not all OPEC members do that. It's something we need to look at.
Interesting. Dr. Dikpe, let's take a break. We have a commercial break, and in a minute we'll be back and continue our discussion. Don't go away. This is Business Nigeria with Tolulope Ogunjobi.
The President, on behalf of the BOT, Governing Council members, and entire members of the Nigerian Association of LPG Marketers, cordially invites the public and stakeholders in the liquefied petroleum gas sector to our 2024 National Conference. Theme: Sustainable Energy Growth in Nigeria, LPG and the Future. Venue: Radisson Blue Hotel, Ikeja, Lagos. Date: October 9th, 2024. Time: 9 a.m. The event will be declared open by the Honorable Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Gas, Right Honorable Ekperikpe Ekpo. Guest speakers: Senator Jarigbe, Chairman Senate Committee on Gas; Mrs. Nkechi Obi, Group Managing Director, Techno Oil Limited; Mr. Ubugo Koha, Executive Director, NNPCL, and other distinguished speakers. Special guest: Honorable Sejos Ogun, Chairman of Panel Session. Announcer: Barrister Edu Inyang, Chairman Organizing Committee.
All right, glad to have you back. Well, I still have Dr. Biodun Adedikpe via Zoom. Dr. Adedikpe, the fallout of this policy is something that we should look at, and we've been looking at over time. But many expect, Nigerians want the quick fix. So what are we looking at now regarding the fallout moving forward? Transportation costs are high. It's impacting the price of food. The Minister of Finance is saying that they will increase production so that they can reduce the price of food. But do we have quick wins? And if we have, can we explore them very quickly so that we start to see the positives of total deregulation?
All right. Thank you so very much. Now, for me, the real quick wins will work from two angles. One relates to logistics. It is what we are discussing right now, talking about the cost of moving, foodstuff, agri-produce from the farm gate to the market. That, of course, has to do with the cost of fuel. Maybe also it's a time for us to seriously consider subsidizing the cost of logistics. And that means the fuel that heavy-duty trucks that carry foodstuff from farm gate to the markets, we must also look at that. I think it is a misnomer to see subsidy as a negative. The essence of subsidy is to introduce that in areas where there are inherent weaknesses that can also adversely affect the ultimate end of reform. In fact, subsidy should be a conversation in context of reforms. So, and we have done this before in Nigeria. I remember in the early 90s, there was discrimination in terms of pricing of refined petroleum products between commercial vehicles and private vehicles. Of course, it was abused along the line. And in my view, as a nation, we should learn from mistakes of the past when we tried that and see how that now can be done presently. But whichever way it goes, if we say, look, willing seller, willing buyer, we can never get to the effectiveness required to deal with food insecurity. So we must find a way, therefore, to provide some form of subsidy for vehicles that carry foodstuffs, because that's a major argument that farmers have brought forward in the last 1 week, that we heard about in the news. That's one side. The other side to it is talking about food security. There are some basic food stores we consume in Nigeria that don't take so many weeks from, when you plant up until harvest. We can put a lot of focus on those food items. And then, if we do that, that gives us a short space of time. For some, it's just a matter of 6, 8, 10, 12 weeks, you have your harvest. So if we focus on those, that becomes low-hanging fruit. We already have the arable land, all right? Of course, we are in season where the rains are still falling, but equally as government has started to do, they should intensify effort in reviving the river basins, all those authorities that provide irrigation to farms. So those are also things I believe we can do within a short period of time. So if we focus on those ones, and even probably government can provide incentives to private investors within that space. If we do those, they become low-hanging fruits that can bridge the gap we have right now in terms of food availability, which is the number one element in food security. And of course, if it's available, that also will impact the second element in food security, and that is affordability. So if we are able to do that, one is the cost of transporting foodstuffs from farm gate to the market, and that is dealing with heavy-duty trucks that carry those things. Secondly is the particular foodstuffs that we mostly consume, which are cultivated locally here, which ones have very short gestation period. Can we put a lot of attention to those so that we can expand the volume that we produce and also thereby impact affordability? So those are the two things I can talk about immediately as low-hanging fruits.
We have just 1 minute to wrap this up, but in all fairness, I want to ask you, the naira for crude deal, some analysts have also said that it is just a currency thing, that it would only impact the pressure or reduce pressure on the FX, that we know that we don't have as much as we expect to, or we expected to have as a country, that this will reduce it. Don't forget, crude is an international commodity and it is sold internationally. So some say it's neither here nor there. So I'd like to help us clarify this.
Okay. Well, I will say it is there rather than neither here nor there. And the reason is very simple. Now, historically, when you look at our import structure,
yes,
about 39.1% of our imports were refined petroleum products. So if we begin to refine products domestically, that means number one, we don't need foreign currencies to pay for those imports. That's the first side. Now, the other side to it is that if we provide the crude also to local refineries, it means the dollar they would have demanded for any foreign currency to import their crude oil would also be out of the market. So, yes, agreed. That will reduce the demand for foreign currencies for that purpose. That is for either importing refined products or also for buying crude if they have to import crude as well. Now, where this plays out for me, and that was why I made that suggestion earlier on, the real game changer for us is not just the currency nomenclature, but that we consider the fact that crude is produced here in Nigeria. Yes. That's a defined geography. All right? Now, it is different than crude produced, say, in the US, where Dangote Refinery used to import crude from. So now, the logistics from, let's say, Agbami to Lekki Free Trade Zone, where Dangote Refinery is, in terms of cost, cannot compare with the cost of moving the crude from US to the same location. So that should also play out in the pricing, in my own estimation, unless we are not being honest with the way the pricing template is set up. So in which case, there should be an advantage in providing the crude locally to start with, and also a naira that impacts the FX market. But we must now look beyond that and ask ourselves, if the crude is produced in Nigeria, why should we price at international rates? That's an advice I think Nigeria should stand against. And we know where it's coming from anyway. So but we must also begin to look at it differently and use our own logic of what should work for us in our best interest, and not always buy ideas that are foreign. And let me drop this as my last point today, and that's the fact that no advisor who is not Nigerian will come to advise you to do things that will counter their own interest in the country of his origin. So if they give you an advice, on the face of it, it will look good to you, but ultimately it is to protect their own interest in international trade. So you must be conscious of that and then ask yourself, what really should we do in order to protect our own interest, which is against their own? Dangote functioning here and running well is the death, I will say, of refineries in Europe. About 10 of them that are currently at risk of closing down, simply because DR is in operation. So it's their interest against our interest. And what I will say is reasonable for any human being to do is to protect your own interest and take care of your own people. That is the point I will leave here for today.
Chief Consultant, B. Adedikpe Associates Limited. Thank you so much. It's good to have you on the program as usual.
Thank you for having me. Always interesting conversing with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, coming up on the show, well, we've talked so much about imports. We are moving now to talk exports.